Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rita. Today we have one of the most exciting and most anticipated releases, at least for me. We're gonna be talking about Lisa Eldridge and her brand new lipsticks and a very new exciting collection. It's gonna be a brand new product. We're gonna be talking all about her eyeshadows, and I did pick up one eyeshadow palette and then 3 of the new lipsticks. Whenever you pick up 3 or more of her products from her website, you do get a free velvet makeup pouch. So this is going to be in her new color. This is going to be the shade Pompadour, I believe how you pronounce it. So I didn't get this lipstick this time around, but I feel like it is going to be one of the ones that I pick up later on because this shade is just absolutely gorgeous. As always, it's going to be this beautiful velvety pouch with her logo in the middle in this beautiful gold, and the zipper is also going to be gold, and it does come with her logo embossed once again on the zipper, and it is a pretty good size. I do use one of this for my daily. Whenever I carry a bigger bag, I just stuff my essentials and it's just perfect. So the shades that I picked this time around were a red, a pink red, and the brown shade. So it's not what I have on my lips. On my lips, by the way, I have Velvet Muse. Since Velvet Muse is the palette that I picked, I thought I would just use and pair it with Velvet Muse lipstick. But anyway, so yeah, we've got Muse with Muse on the eyes, which the eyeshadow is going to be the more pinkish out of all of the shades. So let's go ahead and take a look at the boxes. Same as always, very beautiful in white with the gold detailing. So very pretty. I love how they always are very cohesive with each other, even though, you know, this is like maybe like her Ford collection. I can't remember at this point of the velvets. And here is the beautiful new palette. It is a stunner. I love the sleek packaging. It is super pretty in the beautiful gold. It has her logo embossed on the top. I'm sorry, on the bottom, and then on the top you have a little bit of a design. Just, I don't really know how to call it. And then the back, you get the name of the shadow or the palette, which is Muse, and then the name of each one of the shades. And you also get the formula underneath the name. And you have these tiny little holes on the palette, on the back of it, so you can actually just poke it real easily, and you're able to change the eyeshadow, even like move it around the colors you have. Or if you do get more than one palette, you can just interchange them to, you know, whatever your needs are, which I absolutely love that. And you can also buy each one of these shades individually. So let's say I got Muse, I do have my eye on a couple of other shades. I can just buy the individual shadow and then stick it into my palette and then use it as I please, which is something that I really love because you get a more customized, more personalized eyeshadow palette according to what you love. Pricing for the eyeshadow palette is going to be $68, and for the individual shades that you can add separately are going to be $16 per shadow. And for the eyeshadows, she did release, I believe, 5 of them. So you got Velvet Muse, which is the one that I got here, which is a more pinkish hues. Then you have Vega, which is the more smoky, darker shadow. You have Cinnabar, which I had my eye on, which is going to be the kind of like brownish shade, and you can see the colors right here. And then we've got Myth, which is going to be the more, I guess, purpley, maroon shadows. And then the last one is Sorcery, which is going to be a very beautiful, unique shadow, kind of like a more jewel toned. Very, very stunning. Lipsticks retail for $36, and currently you can find the full collection on the website in stock, except for Sorcery, which is the more brownish shade out of the 5 that she released. And I missed 2 of them. I didn't pick up Rain and Pompadour, if that's how you pronounce it, which is the color of the new pouch. And you can shop for all of these products on the Lisa Eldridge website. And if you are in London, of course, you can always just go into her pop-up store, which I'm pretty sure is going to be more than beautiful. And what a great way to try all of her lipsticks. Anyway, you guys, let's go ahead and try all of these products. And before we do, please be sure to subscribe. Just hit this little red subscribe button, and be sure to also hit the bell so you're notified every time that I post. Looking at the little bag, it really makes me regret not picking up this shade in the lipstick. It is super, super pretty, and I do love a pink lipstick. But anyway, I did pick up 3 of the lipsticks and the pink eyeshadow palette. I feel like that's not a surprise if you're familiar with my channel. I love pink and more neutral brown shades. I was going to pick the brown shade as well on the palette, but I wanted to just try the formula first, and then I think I'm gonna be picking a couple of these shadows individually later on. So I might just do that with the brown shades that I liked. But anyway, let's just jump right into the palette. It is absolutely adorable in the shade Muse. I know I already mentioned it, but you know, it is the shade Muse. And here is a close-up at the shades. I haven't touched them, swatched them, nothing. So this is going to be a true first impressions. So I really wish that this palette, I feel like all of the shades are a little bit darker for my crease, except for this one. I wish it had come with a lighter brown. So that's why I want to pick up a few of the shades in just individual form. But anyway, let's go ahead and start with this one, which is called Tea Room. By the way, if you're new to my channel, I don't add any primer on my eyelids because I use concealer and powder all around my eyes because I do have vitiligo. So that serves me as a primer. So anyway, let's just jump right into it with a fluffy blending brush. This one is Makeup by Mario and Sephora. So I'm just going to start blending this into my crease. Like I said, I do already have powder all over the lid. This is blending really nicely, and the shade, it is like a very light pink. I am noticing a little bit of fallout on the palette, but nothing too much. Like, it's pretty minimal. It is a very subtle pink, so just keep that in mind, but it is definitely adding or like building up really nicely. So you can see here, nothing on my eyes, and then on this one. I'm gonna blend out a little bit more to build up that color just a tiny bit more. I just swatched both of these shades in the back of my hand just so I could see which one I wanted to use today for the lid. I think I'm gonna go for the darker shade, and I have it on my finger. I just grabbed a little bit, and I did bring you in a little bit closer, and I'm just going to start blending this. I'm gonna add a little bit of that color that we just used, and I'm going to blend this into the crease. To bring a little bit more of smokiness into the eye, I'm going to go into the middle shade here at the bottom, and I am just going to run this on my outer V. This is giving me not very much pigmentation on the brush, so I'm going to switch to my finger, and I'm just going to tap this directly into the eye. This is much lighter than I was anticipating, so I'm just going to go ahead and go to the darker shade in the palette, which is going to be the middle and the top. And I'm going to also try to work the color and build it up with my finger. I feel like this shade is not as different from the actual shade in the crease. It's just looking like sort of like the same shade. So I don't know, what do you guys think? I'm gonna go ahead and go back into the second shade that we used, so this one right here in the corner, with my finger, and I'm going to go back and add more of that luminous presence to it that I feel like we lost in the whole blending. And I'm just gonna tap it everywhere. It is very much more purple than I was anticipating. I was thinking this was going to be more pink than purple, but here we go. So now I'm going to just clean my finger. I have here like a little towel, and I'm gonna use the lighter shade in the palette, so this one up here, and I'm going to bring this into the middle of my eye just to create a bit more of like lightness in there, and then just in the center. I'm gonna go back to the darker shade in the palette with a smaller, more precise brush, and I am going to just attempt to do a bit of a wing line, or maybe just line the eyes. I'm not entirely sure just yet, but for now let's just line them with a darker shade. So as I am building that liner, honestly, I still feel like it's very similar to the shade that I used all over the lid. So even though it's like much darker on the palette, you can see it right there, it doesn't seem much darker on my eye. So whenever I'm looking at my eye, it just looks like I have maybe two shadows, but nothing too significant. So I'm going to go back and blend the crease just a little bit more. The crease has been blending very beautifully, so that is one thing that I'm liking. This is just the first impressions. As a first impressions, I'm gonna just straight up and say it. I don't think it has a lot of dimension as I was expecting by looking at the colors. So the colors definitely look in the palette more, you know, just that they would look different. But I feel like these three shades that I attempted to use on my lid, they just look as the same color, which is a bit disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. So it also does have some fallout. I don't know if the camera's not able to read that, but you can see right here, there's some fallout. So what I'm gonna do before moving on, I'm just gonna grab my powder brush and just kind of like clean that area to make sure that it doesn't get worse. But yeah, there was some fallout there, just wanted to let you know. And now let's go ahead and add a bit of definition on my lower lashes. So I'm just going to grab a smaller, more precise brush, and I'm gonna go with the middle bottom shade and just run this on my lower lashes. And now I'm just going to add a bit of inner corner highlight with the lighter shade in the palette and on my finger. Finger to me is always definitely a better application, especially when working with this more subtle shades. I feel like this palette is transforming into a very subtle palette now that's on my eye. And yeah, it's just adding this all over my inner corner, and I always like to bring it a little bit more closer to the bridge of my nose. Before I finish the other eye, I just wanted to show you real quick how it's looking. I'm gonna look down so you can see the eyeshadow. So here is of course the eye with nothing, and then we've got the eyeshadow. So yeah, I mean, I used 3 eyeshadows and they looked almost identical. I did not get as much, I guess, dimension and darkness as I was expecting, especially after looking at the shadows on the palette. A little disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna go ahead and use it again on my other eye, and then I'll be right back to show you before we apply mascara and move on to the lips. I am back, all done with the eyeshadow. So I just wanted to show you real quick. So both of the eyes of course now have the same exact eyeshadows. And one quick thing that I just noticed. So as I was finishing up the other eye, I went into Lisa Eldridge video to see how she was using the palette and, you know, how to get more dimension and whatnot. And she did mention that this is, out of all of the palettes, the one that has the most similarities, that it will be blending very seamless once on the eyes. So she did mention that. So I just didn't pay attention to that, I guess, whenever I saw the video. So basically it's saying that what I'm experiencing of how similar the shades are to each other, that's normal. That's how the palette was supposed to be. So I guess I'm not gonna criticize that on my behalf because that's how it was meant to be. And other thing that I did notice, as she was using the palette on her video, my palette does not look like that. So it seems like my palette arrived in a different, like, just basically it's not the way the palette should have come. So they're the same shades, but they are not in the correct spot. You can see how they're too dark on the corner, the two darks, and I have mine, the darker ones, kind of like on the top and in the, like, this middle shade. So this is not correct. I need to go ahead and rearrange the shadows to match how they're supposed to come. So yeah, just, I don't know, that happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you how it looks probably at the beginning of the video. And I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the look with mascara so we can move on with the lipstick. With the eyes, I went on and added lots of mascara. So here is the final look with the mascara. Let me go ahead and get a little bit closer. So of course it's going to be a very pretty pink eyeshadow, just what I like on my eyes. I love pink shadows, it's probably my favorite. So I also went on and rearranged my little palette as it was meant to be. So like I was mentioning earlier, these 3 shades were not on the right spot. So I went on the website and checked on her video, and I believe this is how it's supposed to be. Like, if you have this palette, let me know in the comments, but I think I got it now on the right spots. And here is what the palette looks like with now the shades rearranged. Let's move on with lipsticks. I did end up picking 3 of them. I love her Velvet formula, and honestly, her Luxuriously Lucent is another great formula. All of her lipsticks are fantastic, and I really love the formulas. So this is going to be her matte formula, the Velvet, which was with what she started her line, her brand. I picked up 3 shades. So the first one is gonna be Velvet Sorcery, which is a darker brown. I was expecting from the website a bit of a lighter brown, but it's still a very pretty one. Then I got Velvet Enchantment, which is going to be a very pretty, I don't know, like a pink red. Super pretty. Look at that shade. I am actually very impressed with this one, and I feel like this is going to be my favorite just by looking at it. And of course, I had to pick a red lipstick. If we're gonna be talking about velvet lipsticks from Lisa Eldridge, I had to get a red. And I got Duchess, which is going to be her, I guess, traditional red, which is going to be kind of like the cherry red or apple red. Very pretty. I will be doing a video, in case you're interested in that, in kind of like comparing her reds. I feel like today or right now is like the red season. Holidays are upon us, so what better time to talk about red lipsticks than right now. So anyway, let's go ahead and try the lighter shade. I think it's going to be Velvet Sorcery on my lips. And there's nothing on my lips currently. I did have a little bit of chapstick, but I removed it already. So let's go ahead and swatch. Here we have Velvet Sorcery. It is definitely darker than I was expecting, but honestly it looks super pretty. It's gonna be the perfect chocolate brown for the fall and winter. So here we have it. Let's move on with Velvet Enchantment. I think that's how you pronounce it. So nothing on my lips again, and I think this is going to be my favorite out of the 3. So let's go ahead and try it. This is such a beautiful shade. I am in love with it already. This is going to be the more pinkish red. You can definitely see that it's a red lipstick, but the pink is very much there, and I love it. It's very bright, as a beautiful, you know, red would give you, but also it has a little bit more of like an easy to wear shade with the pink underneath. So here we have Velvet Enchantment. We made it to the very last lipstick, and this is going to be Velvet Duchess. This is going to be your typical deep red garnet red, so it's going to be the classic of classic reds. So let's go ahead and try it on the lips, and I do like to use, or I do recommend you use your bullet very little at a time, because these lipsticks break very easily. So keep that in mind. If you do have any of these lipsticks, I would strongly recommend you get out as little as possible. So anyway, let's go ahead and try it, Velvet Duchess on the lips. And finally, we have Velvet Duchess. Quick rundown of the products. I am definitely and deeply in love with the velvets. This is just my favorite. I'm gonna say this. This is my favorite matte formula out of all of the lipsticks in my collection. It is just soft. It goes on very smooth. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel drying on the lips. They are just the best mattes you can find out there. I really love the shades that I picked, but like I mentioned earlier, I am kind of regretting that I didn't pick up this shade also. That might be something that I get as a me Christmas present, probably. So yeah. Beautiful shades. My favorite by far was Enchantment. I think this is going to be my go-to shade for the coming, the coming months. It is just a beautiful shade that I feel like I can wear year-round without any issue. Not that you have to wear a specific shade, but you know what I mean. And then Duchess is what I have on my lips. It is going to be that perfect holiday lipstick. I feel like this is going to make, and like just any makeup look that you wear or any makeup that you're going on with, I think this is just going to be the cherry on the top. A beautiful red. Now let's move on with the palette. While I do like it, I feel like the colors and the actual finished look was very beautiful. Personally, I own a lot of pink shadows. This is nothing to do with the brand. I probably should have known better, but I don't feel like this was anything special other than what I already have a ton in my collection. It is a beautiful color story, but, and this is a big but, it was also my fault that I didn't really listen carefully to the video. She does mention on her video that this is going to be a palette that's very similar in tone once applied on the eyes. So I did notice that, and you saw my first impressions I was applying, and the shades didn't really build up as I wanted to, especially this darker shade, that it looks very dark on the palette, but once on the eyes, it just kind of like blends into the other shades. So that was a little bit of a big disappointment, I'm not gonna lie, but she did mention that was going to be the case with this palette. Other than that, I think that color story is beautiful. I don't think I needed another pink shadow in my collection, but I wanted to try it because it is my go-to colors whenever I'm doing makeup. So it is very pretty. If you have already more than one pink eyeshadow palette, do I recommend you run and get this? No, definitely not. It's definitely going to be one of those palettes that you can skip unless you don't have any more pink shadows. That was Lucy. So if you don't have a lot of pink shadows, yeah, I would recommend it. It's not a bad shadow. The palette is good. They blended really nicely, they're soft, they're easy to work with, which I love. Because if you're not a makeup artist, you want to get the most out of your eyeshadows. And it can be very difficult to work with eyeshadows that are just either too pigmented, too intense, they're not, they're not blending as easy, and this was not the case. The palette is going to be beautiful, blendable, easy to work with. So in that case, I recommend it, but if you have more than one pink shadow in your collection, I would just skip this. This is of course a first impressions and the only one that I have from her collection, so I really can't speak for the others. The formula wasn't bad, the formula wasn't extraordinary, so it's just an okay palette for me. And for the price point, I think you could probably do better if you look around. I don't know, let's say Natasha Denona, even Anastasia has really beautiful palettes that stand out more, in my opinion, than this one. The packaging is very stunning. I was not expecting anything less. I love how sleek it is, how small it is, how compact. It is just super pretty. It is going to be plastic, but even though it's plastic, I feel like it does feel very luxurious because of the gold and how pretty, sleek. It's just a beautiful palette overall. And I love how she did this, that you can actually change and mix and match if you have more than one palette, or if you pick up individuals like I was thinking I was gonna do. I'm not entirely convinced just yet if I'm going to get more, but so far this is going to be sufficient for me. I hope this video helped, in case you were wondering if you wanted to pick up the shadows or the lipsticks. Once again, lipsticks, 10 out of 10, I would highly recommend. It's just a matter of picking the shades you like and the ones that speak more to you. Like I mentioned earlier, I will be doing a video coming up of the red lipsticks that I have from her line, so you can get a better understanding of the different shades and maybe, pick easier with the video. Anyway, you guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below if you did end up picking any of the lipsticks or the eyeshadow palettes. What are your thoughts? Especially on this little guy. If you did get any of the other shades, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!